It's viable and strictly therapeutic. Hello, huge movie fanatic Nate, stopping on by. This time I'm coming at you to simply do a Blu-ray review. I'm coming at you to review the Blu-ray of the motion picture by the name of Rituals that came out in 1976. Basically, I think this came out on Blu-ray in 2018. They did a new scan, new HD scan of the only surviving or the best surviving film elements that I think the producer-actor Lawrence Dane owns, and they did a Blu-ray release, a scan and a Blu-ray release of this in 2018, but it was one of those limited releases that was really kind of hard to find, and it like went out of print really quick, and then I was contemplating getting it on eBay and I never did, and to my delight this ended up coming out, I think, was it this year? I think that was a Code Red Blu-ray that originally came out. This one is released by Scorpion Releasing. And I want to say that this one came out this year, and it is a really, it doesn't have that, I don't know, that newly commissioned cover art that Code Red Blu-ray had, but I don't really like that anyway. And plus, I'm not huge, cover art doesn't really make or break anything for me anyway, so it's really not a big deal. I was just looking around on Amazon, and I just came across this. I'm like, oh my God, a freaking, Blu-ray of Rituals. It was like $16 or something like that. It was really decently priced, and being a huge fan of this movie, I was like, yeah, I definitely wanted to have this movie on Blu-ray, but I wasn't really sure I wanted to be paying, whatever the hell the out-of-print Blu-ray was going for on eBay and stuff. I don't know when the hell it was, back in maybe 2011 or something like that. Code Red put out the first, well, I guess I can't say the first DVD, but the first DVD that was, kind of like the complete version or whatever, the one that was done with, or also transferred from Lawrence Dane's personal print or prints that he owns or whatever of the movie. And Lawrence Dane did an interview, and Robin Gamel did an interview, and Lawrence Dane did commentary. That was a really great release and the best presentation of Rituals to date at that time. And having originally seen it on this VHS that came out, I think from Avco Embassy or whatever, it's really goofy because when you look at that VHS after seeing the uncut or the fully, the full version on these DVD or the Blu-ray releases, it looks like you become aware of the fact that it's like that VHS is like almost like a TV cut of the movie, where they cut out all the swear words and some of the gore. Mostly they're cutting out swear words, but yeah, it's really goofy. I don't understand why the VHS release of it from Avco Embassy, probably from the early 80s or something like that, is like a TV cut. It's really kind of frustrating. So it was really fun when I saw that first Code Red DVD in 2011 or whenever the hell it came out, to actually see the fully uncut movie and all the swear words and stuff like that, and maybe a little more violence perhaps in all its uncut glory. So if you're familiar with the Code Red DVD that came out in 2011 or whenever the hell it came out, you'll be very familiar with this release. It's got, I think, pretty much more or less all the special features, the two interviews with Lawrence Dane and Robin Gamel, or Gamel, or however the hell you pronounce his last name. There's always one of those last names to try to pronounce or screw up the pronunciation of, and it also includes the commentary from that first DVD with Lawrence Dane, which is really fun. I've always liked Lawrence Dane, as an actor, and having, heard him in the commentary back then and also recently on this new Blu-ray, he just seems like an all-around great kind of guy and stuff, Obviously, because of the limited elements available for this particular release, these more recent DVD and Blu-ray presentations leave a little bit, or in some cases a lot, to be desired. I know when the first DVD came out, they were working really hard. Basically the studio or the lab screwed up the negative of the last reel, from what I understand, of Rituals, or the last reel or two. And they did their best when Code Red had put out that first DVD to try to brighten it up and stuff like that. And it's funny how it's like they didn't really ask for Lawrence Dane's input, it seems like, because when they're just doing the commentary, they're saying what they did without really consulting him. It's kind of funny because Lawrence Dane was kind of giving them notes in as they were doing the commentary, kind of like, oh, maybe that's a little too bright. And it's interesting because when you compare the Blu-ray, the end scene on the Blu-ray compared to the DVD, it looks like they may have darkened it a little bit more, possibly because of Lawrence Dane's input while they were recording the commentary for the first DVD. It's kind of interesting, but one can only assume that the prints that were used for this newer Blu-ray release were the same ones that were used for the 2011 Code Red DVD release. And it's a little bit of a bummer because if you have both versions and if you're familiar with the Code Red DVD from 2011 or whenever the hell they put it out, you'll know, and it's kind of like weird because it's like, I don't know, I guess it's like 7 years later, but I mean, one wouldn't think the prints would deteriorate this much in 7 years. I don't know if it's, you know, the people who did the new HD scan or what the reasons for it are, but what you'll notice if you compare the two, the DVD and the Blu-ray, is like some of the reds, like in particular their backpacks at the beginning of the movie, their red backpacks on the new Blu-ray scan, or on the DVD scan, are more reddish, and on the Blu-ray scan, they're, you know, things that are red are kind of more of a pinkish hue, and there might even be a little bit of a very, 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 very subtle, depending on what's on screen, pinkish hue to the whole print. That's probably what, you know, ultimately happens to prints over decades and decades and decades of time, if not stored perfectly, correctly, or whatever. Maybe it just happens regardless. But one of the kind of bummers about this particular Blu-ray release of it says on the back here, 2018 scan of the best film elements available, is that compared to that DVD that they put out in 2011 or whenever the hell they did, the colors are not looking quite as good in this version as they did in that DVD presentation. As I said, reds seem to have a pinkish hue and possibly a very, 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 very subtle pinkish hue throughout the whole movie, depending on what's on screen. One thing I was delighted to, you know, see though is, you know, another reason why I never got the Blu-ray on eBay is because I'm like, well, you know, the elements are so iffy on this that are available for this release anyway. Does a Blu-ray upgrade, will it be even much of an upgrade? And I was pleasantly surprised with the fact that, you know, things are definitely more clear. Close-ups are just very, very full of detail, and even big vista shots of the cauldron of the moon and all this and that, and just big vista shots of the forest and stuff. Like, you know, you can see, you know, the detail. You know, there's a lot of detail a lot more detail that can be seen in the Blu-ray release than the DVD release, of course. And you know, for whatever reason, maybe it's just inherent in the particular prints that they had to work with, but there's not a whole hell of a lot of grain in this movie. It's not really one, you know, me being a grain guy, loving my grain and stuff, there wasn't a whole hell of a lot of grain to be found, but I imagine different movies are filmed with different film stocks and have different this and have different that. This may have never been a particularly grainy movie in the first place, but I was, you know, this particular Blu-ray release was kind of good and kind of bad. Like I was pleasantly surprised with the amount of detail that the Blu-ray was able to, you know, bring forth, and I was kind of equally disappointed about things having, you know, reds having gone to more of a pinkish hue in, I guess, the 7 years or so between the scan for the DVD and the scan for the Blu-ray. It's just kind of like nothing could be done about that, or what the hell happened there. It just seemed kind of weird that the print, you know, the prints lasted as long as they did, relatively decent from, you know, 76 to 2011, and then 7 more years or so they got so much worse. It's possibly not even the print's fault. Maybe it's the person or whoever was responsible for the HD scan in 2018. It's hard to say, but at the end of the day, it is interesting because, you know, I do feel like the archival print aspect of this movie, I'm pretty sure I said it in my review of the movie that I did years ago, the archival print aspect of the, you know, these two releases, the DVD from 2011 or whenever the hell it was, and now the 2018 scan, do kind of go, you know, they do really go along with the movie and make the movie, you know, even more just kind of gritty and nasty in that aspect. And I'm kind of glad in a way that the lab screwed up the last, you know, scene of the movie, because it once again, it kind of even adds even more just grittiness and stuff to the movie. If I haven't said it, you know, Rituals is kind of, can be regarded as a quote-unquote Deliverance ripoff, and if you've seen my review of the movie, you'll know that I regard Rituals as being a much, you know, more superior film to the movie Deliverance. And if you want to know more of my thoughts on that, feel free to check out my review of the movie. You don't get reversible cover art for this particular release by Scorpion Releasing on Blu-ray. You just get this cover art. I don't know if this is, I want to say that this is a version of the original theatrical poster. I don't think this is newly commissioned cover art. Whether it is or not, I actually really like this cover art here of this painting / drawing of Mitzi burning there in the final climactic scene. I like this much more than that newly commissioned cover art that was done for the original Blu-ray release of the film, so I actually really like this cover art. If you've got the Code Red DVD from 2011 or whenever the hell it came out, the back of this particular Blu-ray is very similar, basically almost the exact same thing. Here you've got your special features, audio commentary with star producer Lawrence Dane, moderated by Lee Christian. There's a third guy that's way in the background that chimes in as well. Must be a Code Red guy or something like that. On-camera interviews with Lawrence Dane and Robin Gamel, original trailers, 2018 scan of the best film elements available. And the trailer for this movie, incidentally, is really cool with that kind of kids singing that song, like, you know, if you go down in the woods today, get ready for a great surprise. I don't know how the hell it goes, but the trailer is really kind of cool in this movie. And I want to say the trailer that they provide for Rituals might even be HD on this Blu-ray. It's hard to say. If it's not HD, it looks, you know, it looks good enough where I can't tell if it's HD or not. So that's a good sign. The artwork on the Blu-ray disc itself is the same as the cover art. Poor old Mitzi getting fried. Guess that'll pretty much do it for my review of the recently released Blu-ray of Rituals by Scorpion Releasing. I want to say that, once again, I'm not 100% sure, but I think that this Scorpion Releasing Blu-ray just recently came out, possibly this year, and when I found it online for like under $20, I was like, oh hell yeah, I want some Rituals on Blu-ray, because I actually really like this movie a lot, and it's really goes by every time I watch it really fast, and I think it's really competently, you know, conceived and executed. But without getting too much into that, if you want to know more about my thoughts of the actual movie, please feel free to check out my movie review I did probably, I don't know, maybe 2, 3, 4 years ago at this point. Thank you very much for watching this video, and as always, we'll catch you on the next one.